So this is the pattern drafting for the back, and then I will still use that same measurement, just that there will be a little bit of adjustment to the measurements that I will be using. So I will start by removing my 2 inches that I'm going to use for the zip allowance, which is one thing we should note. The zip allowance, I'll start by removing the 2 inches for the zip allowance. So when I remove the 2 inches for the zip allowance, then I'll measure my exact back. I'll measure 2 inches. Please try as much as possible to measure it. I didn't know my camera was not capturing that part well, but I was measuring 2 inches from up down. Now, so as to avoid measuring 2 inches, and at the end of the day, I'm getting 1.7 inches at the lower part. So it is very essential. Now, I'm measuring the full length. That's 18.5 that I used for the front. I'm measuring 18.5. Just follow through and see how I'm going to remove the excess that will puff out at the back later on in the video. So when you are measuring, try as much as possible to measure straight. Measure to as much as 3 to 4 meters away from where you are measuring, so that you would get your accurate measurement. Now, it is very important to get your accurate measurement, because once you measure 18 at a point and you are measuring 17.5 at a point, if you are removing 1 inches in 18 points at the point of 18, and you're also removing 1 inches, know that you're not going to get the same thing. It's going to be slant, which would affect your measurement, which will affect your clothes. Even when you are done with it and when you are sewing, you'll be wondering, but what I measured there is different from what is here. This place is longer, this place is shorter. So it's very important. So at this point, I was drawing my straight line. I drew my straight line, and then I will remove the measurement for the back now. That's measuring the back. The back is 7 inches. The back is 7 inches. So I'm going to measure out my armhole length. The same thing I'm using for the back is the same thing I'll use for the front. The armhole length is 8, like we use for the back. Then I will draw out my armhole line. Just follow through as I'm just trying as much as possible so that you can be able to understand what I am doing. That's the midpoint. Come in by 0.5. The 1 inches for the slant. That's the shoulder slant. The neckline I use at the front is the neckline I will use at the back. But the only problem here is I will not use exact depth. I'll be using 5 inches for the neck width at the back. That's for the back. And then I'll not use 2.5. I'll be using 2 inches for the neck depth. 2 inches for the neck depth, 5 inches for the neck width. Please take notes. 2 inches for the neck depth, 5 inches for the neck width. I'll use my French curve to trace it out. So you can see properly like that. Then I'll just trace it out completely. So I just draw out my slant, my neck slant, and so we have it. Now, I'm going to do a princess dart at the back as well. Now, this princess dart I'm doing at the back, you will take note of the measurement I'm going to use. The measurement I'm going to use is going to be quite different from the measurement I used in the front. In the front, I was using shoulder to nipple point. Shoulder to nipple point was giving me 10 inches. At this point, I'm going to minus 1 inches, which means I want my princess darts to come up. There's no going to be breast at the back. Hope you notice that. So there's no need like for puffing out or using any allowance or adding any curve. All I just need to is just make my straight line, and then I'll get my perfect length. So I'll just measure the back. I'm going to be measuring the back. I'll use 9 inches. So that's something I want you to take note as well. I'll be using 3 inches for the slant. That's for the same slant. That's for the princess curve. So I'm measuring 9 inches instead of 8. I'll measure 9 inches. I'll come back up. I'll measure 9 inches. That's 10 inches I was showing you. That's the waistline. Then I'll measure 9 inches. Instead of using 10, this is 9 inches. Instead of 10 inches for my curve. So I'll just draw a straight line so that you can note it. I'll draw a straight line. Now you see that I didn't measure 9 inches down. I needed that point. I just needed that point, and I needed it to be laid out that this is it. And that's the waistline. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my shoulder to nipple point just to confirm again. Then I'll draw the straight line for the waistline. And then I'll measure the nipple to nipple point. The nipple to nipple point I'm going to be using here is not going to be the same. I'm going to use 4 inches. 4 inches. You can decide to do 4.3 because of allowance. You can decide to do 4.3 so that I can give you exact 4 back. You can decide to do 4.3. But for me, I'll be using 4 inches in this part because that's what I want to use. You can decide to use. See, fashion is very flexible. It's not necessarily that you have to follow rules all the time. Follow rules. These rules are also made by individuals like us too. So rules, sometimes you can twinge it a little. Although sometimes you have to be very careful with switching rules because it can actually affect your fabric as well. So I'm going to be using 4.0. So I'll draw my straight line and then I'll draw my curve to meet back the line that I had already made. That's for the 3 inches that I'm using. I'm going to get a perfect curve for it. So I'll measure out my normal inches, my normal allowance, 8.5 plus 2 inches plus extra 1 inches. That 1 inches is for the sewing of the dart. Now you're adding your normal measurement, that's 8.5 plus 1.5, that's 10. Abi? 8.5 plus 1.5, that's 10. Plus 1 inches, that's 11. So I'm measuring 11 inches on the nipple point line, and I'm also on the nipple point line. And I'm also, that's nipple point line 9, note it. And I'm also measuring the same, the same 7.5 inches plus my 1.5 inches. That will be giving me 9 inches plus another 1 inch. That's 10 inches for my waistline. So 10 inches for my waistline and 10 inches for my, and then 11 inches for my bust line. Now note, this is plus the 2 inches, so plus the 2 inches of your zip allowance. This is also plus the 2 inches of your zip allowance. It is advisable you just measure directly from the straight, that's zip allowance line, down to the measurement of the armhole parts. Do you get my point? In case you have any question, you can also drop it in the comment section. I'll be willing to answer and also do a video again. Now for this part, this is the part you can use to remove your bulgy back. Like if you don't want your back to be bulgy, you want to remove the allowance. I measured 1 inch. You can remove it from that part, 1 inch, or you decide that you remove the 1 inch from the waistline. Now when I'm removing from the waistline, take a very close look at what I will do. I'll measure 1 inch. That's from this line. I'm measuring 1 inch. Now be very careful. Don't allow the 1 inch to get exactly to that point. Now I'm adding the 1 inch I forgot to add for the joining of the darts. So that's what I'm adding at the moment. So just stay tuned and watch out. If you are taking a very close look, you see that I'm not allowing it to get to the exact point, because that part must be the same thing, must be equal with the back, must be equal with the front. That particular part must be equal with the front. So you can decide to remove it from the back, or you can decide to remove it from the length side. Please, not together. It's either you choose one from the both of them. So that will be all for now. If you have any question, do well to drop it in the comment section. Do well to drop it in the comment section. That's me folding it. You can decide to fold the other part as well. Thank you and God bless.